Hello and welcome to Game Gumbo. Today we're unboxing Wild Hunt Festival by Lion Wing Publishing. This is a game for 1 to 4 players that plays in 30 to 90 minutes. It's 30 minutes if you're playing the challenge mode where you fight one boss, and then 90 minutes if you're playing in the story mode where you'll fight a total of 3. After we get through with the base game, we have some Kickstarter extras to show you, which include some new characters, some unique dice, and possibly the biggest collapsible dice tray I've ever seen. But they all look pretty nice, so let's go ahead and get into the base game. In Wild Hunt Festival, you'll be playing as a party of 4 characters, regardless of how many people are actually playing. So if you're playing solo, you're going to control all 4 characters. And it's essentially a boss battler. You'll be using these 4 characters to fight either one boss at level 4, which is the challenge mode, or you can play the story mode where you're fighting 4 bosses in a row, with your characters leveling up between each mode. So first of all, we have a couple rule books here. We have a rule book for Nightmare mode, which I believe is just the challenge mode that I was referring to. Oh no, this is actually a new mode that they must have added because it says it's different than challenge mode. And then we have sort of our main rule book. So you have a battlefield, which is kind of interesting. There's a battlefield board, and you'll be drawing random cards, and the symbol you draw will determine the effect on the battlefield for that turn. And then you'll progressively go through several different battlefields as you play. There's also retainer cards you can see down here. These are essentially just little one-time helpful effects. During story mode, you're going to get a total of 4 of them, and you can use them throughout the entire story. You could save them all up for the 4th boss, or have to use them all on the 1st boss. And then in challenge mode, you'll usually get either 1 or 2, depending on the boss you're fighting. The gameplay structure is pretty straightforward. You'll determine the battlefield for the round, and then heroes will all have an action. Heroes can essentially do 3 things. They can have a basic attack, they can have a charge attack, or they can have a skill action, basically using a spell or some other unique ability to them. And then the boss will have a phase, and then you will rotate first player, and then go back to the top and begin again. You win if you bring the boss down to 0 hit points, and you lose if all of the characters are either knocked unconscious or fading, which is basically their phase for dying. We have just a quick reference to the character and the monster boards, which we'll see more clearly when we get to them, and then they explain all the ailments down here. This is very much like a boss fight in a RPG game, so like Final Fantasy. So a lot of this will look very similar to you if you're familiar with that. And then just a quick little setup on how everything goes together. All right, so first we just have these little, very small glass beads. I'm used to glass beads in games, but these may be the smallest glass beads I've ever seen. And these will just keep track of your different, your hit points, where your mana reserves are, the boss hit points. Basically everything in the game will be kept track with these little glass beads. We have a little bag of dice here. Again, these are pretty basic dice. High quality dice, but very, just 2 colors, no special design or anything. But then again, we do have the Kickstarter dice, which I'll show you at the end, which are a little bit fancier. We have tokens for the different status ailments in the game. So for the basic status ailments like poison and things like that, you'll track on your player board. But there's a couple that they actually have tokens for. And I actually really like these tokens. They're, I don't know if they're acrylic or what exactly they are, but they're very nice. Good little art on them. Easy to tell apart. This one and this one are both brown, but this is, whatever this is so prominent on it that it's easy to tell them apart. I like those a lot. Let's go ahead and take a look at this small box of cards here, and this is actually a tuck box. So obviously, Lion Wing Publishing is not a publishing company that we're very familiar with here in the United States. This is a foreign publishing company, but I actually like looking at foreign published games because they do things differently. Like these cards in a tuck box, you don't often see that, especially at this size. They have odd sized cards, but they're interesting. So here are basically all our cards in the game, or not all our cards, but so here are our battlefield cards, and there's only 3 of them. It's got the 3 symbols for the battlefield on them. And these are obviously a very odd size. It'd probably be somewhat difficult to find sleeves in this size in the United States, but you know, there's always resources out there. I'll especially call out Board Game Geek keeps a thread of just what size sleeves every game uses, and I would be surprised if this game isn't on there. And so you can find exactly the size and then find a company that makes those size sleeves. So the battlefield cards, again, there's only 3 of them. We've got a couple cards, just look like rule cards. This one just tells you the basic flow of the game, which again is pretty straightforward. We have item cards. So if you're playing in story mode, at the end of each fight, you will gain an item. And these look like single-use items. So, you know, you're not acquiring new equipment or swords or anything like that. You're just getting little single-use items, but there's a decent selection of them. By the way, these cards may be an odd size, but the quality is quite excellent. It's almost linen finish, but they're very, very nice. They have a nice feel to them. So then we have, these are the charge cards. So as your character levels up, there's a few things that changes. They will often gain a additional ability at level 2 or somewhere in there. At level 3, they gain an additional ability. And then at level 4, they actually replace their charge attack with this card. So if you're playing this character, Elizabeth, when you get to level 4, you'll actually place this over their character card to change their charge attack. And I'll show you that when we get to the character cards. So we have one of these for every character in the game here. And then you have your 3rd level ability. So when you hit 3rd level, you're going to get to select one of these cards, and you see that each one of them is double-sided. And you're going to get a special ability off of these cards for your 3rd level ability. So a lot of variation there. A lot of options to sort of customize your character. Again, there's not a lot of customization, but that's nice to see. And then here are all our retainer cards. So these are the one-time effects, just little people that, you know, help you out. This one is during your round, you ignore the battlefield effect. And there's actually, looks like there's a couple copies of each one. And then another little card for a summon. I assume one of the characters has a summon, and that's the card for them. So we've got a quest log here. So this is for the story mode. Ooh, that text is small. For the story mode, you have sort of flavor text, sort of an introduction, and just sort of story text, essentially, which is appropriate for the story mode. Yeah, but that text is itty bitty. All right, we have a character booklet. I assume this is just, yeah, this is flavor text for all the characters as well as their vital statistics. You can see very JRPG inspired artwork for all of them. And then we have a first player token here. So a lot of the times the boss's attack will specifically target the first player. So it's nice to be able to see who that is very quickly. It's a nice little first player token though. I like that. It's metal. And then finally, the rest of our cards, which will be our hero cards, our boss cards, even our battlefield, will be in this one here. Again, the scale of this game is interesting because it's different. The cards are, you know, everything's a little bit smaller than what we're used to, or what I'm used to at least. So we've got achievements for the challenge mode. Here's our battlefield card. So again, you're going to draw one of the 3 battlefield cards, and then you'll start at whatever symbol you draw. And then as you play, you'll move down the board. So if you draw the yellow symbol first, and then the next round you draw the red symbol, because again, the yellow symbol is still going to be visible, you're going to go to this one, and then finally the last option would be this one, and then you'll reset onto this one, and then go down, and so forth. So your battlefield will always be changing, and it'll always be something different. And you can see they just change slight rules to them. For instance, this one, you can't use your charge 3 attack while you're in that battlefield. We have a different battlefield for the nightmare mode. So this must be the, the hard mode. Heroes may not heal hit points. Yeah, that's not nice. Here are all of our monsters, it looks like. So let's go ahead and take those out. Take a look at those real quick. We've got some more in the back, but so monsters have a level. It just depends on what mode you're playing in. These all look one-sided. Looks like there's one in here that's double-sided. This one, for whatever reason, is double-sided. He must flip over at some point. So monsters will all have a level. If you're playing in story mode, you're going to play level 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you're playing in challenge or nightmare mode, you're just going to fight a level 4 monster. Their health over here not only determines a couple different things. So one, they're either red or blue, and that determines what kind of mana you get. So when you do certain actions in the game, you will accumulate mana. There's 2 types, there's red and blue. And so the type you get will be determined by the current hit points of the boss. If this boss is at 19 health and you use one of those abilities that give you mana, you're going to get red mana. If he's at 18 health, you're going to get blue mana. You can also see the little diamonds underneath the number. That's how many dice they roll on their attack. And then over here, you see their attack options. So depending on the combination of the dice, you add all the dice together, they will do some type of action. So you go from weak actions that will do 2 damage, and I believe that is stun. And then to the second player, it'll also do 2 damage. And then you get all the way down to the very bottom one, where he'll do 8 damage and stun. So obviously it gets more dangerous the more dice they roll, because they can get into their higher attack zones. They also have, sometimes they'll have squares for attack bonuses. Essentially, bosses can power themselves up. And so you'll have one of those glass beads here denoting what their attack bonus is. Some of them have multiple of those attack bonus tiles, but I don't see any here. And then sometimes they have a rage power. So bosses always have 2 things. One, they sort of have this low hit point zone. When they're below a certain number of hit points, they'll gain a special ability. And then they also have a rage attack, and you'll have a little glass bead here denoting their rage. And when it gets to the 4, their rage attack will go off, and then it'll reset. So this one's rage attack is hit everyone. That's what that little red symbol means. And it poisons them. And then all heroes who deal damage in the next round are also going to lose 2 life. So a lot of different choices here for bad guys, as you can see. They each have the same basic setup, but obviously their attacks are different, their rage is different. If they have any attack bonuses, that may be different. Their hit points are different. So a lot of different variability here. Then we get into our heroes. So quite a few heroes to choose from here. As you can see, heroes have a health, which obviously they'll start at max. They have their abilities here. So you can see that you start with a level 1 ability. It costs you one red and 1 blue mana to use. And you choose a hero, and that hero performs 2 actions on their next turn. You have a level 2 ability, which obviously they won't get at level 1 until they level up. Their level 3 ability, they'll get from one of those cards. And then their level 4 ability will change their charge attack. So this isn't the correct card, but this card would slot over and change their charge attack. Again, you're doing 1 of 3 things in your turn. You're doing a basic attack, which is just you attacking the boss and gaining a type of mana, depending on the boss's health. Secondly, you can do your charge attack, which is just you rolling a die and then doing the attack of that roll. You can do a lesser attack. So if you roll a 6, you can do a 6, 4, or 2. And then if you roll a 5, you can do a 5, 3, or 1. Of course, if you roll a 2, you're stuck with the 2. So, but you can always do a lesser attack of either odds or evens. And then finally, you got the 6 statuses to track. So poison, blind, I forget what that one is, sleep, confusion, and fear. You have sort of this little buff icon here, which you'll also track with the glass cubes because you can get these bonuses to damage. And as you can see, there are quite a few characters to choose from. And then we have our nightmare mode. So this one I'm not very familiar with. This must have been something new they added, but just a new little challenge for you. It looks like there's 2 of them. So you got the Serpent God of the Crest, and you've got the Dragon of Eternal Flame as your nightmare options. We have more bosses here. So again, level 1 bosses now, level 3 bosses. So these are obviously the lower level bosses. And you can see this one here, you know, here's his rage meter. He's also got this attack meter, which can go up multiple times. It's not just once. We got another extra board. That must be for a particular boss, must have an extra board. And then back to our battlefield boards. So our Kickstarter extras that we have our rolling mat, which again is, I wonder if somebody got the dimensions wrong, because that is the largest collapsible mat I think I've ever seen, but it does have a very nice graphic in the center. We've got more hero cards. These appear to be the same as the base game, or at least it's the same hero names. Let me see if I can pull one out. See if they're any different. So the only thing I notice is in the quality of them. So the base game, it's got this almost plastic feel to it, the card quality, but it's very, very thin. You can probably see it's not bad. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart, but it's a thin cardboard with like a plastic coating on it or something. And then the Kickstarter version is the basically linen finish that the cards are. So it's got this very nice, much thicker, almost linen feel to it. So that seems to be the only difference. Otherwise, it's just another set of hero cards. But we also have the dice, which are very nice upgrades to the original dice. You see the pips are just different. And that's all you're looking for in these types of dice, is something that's not just, you know, you can go buy this off a shelf somewhere, you know, but these are different. Especially the black dice have very nice art on them that changes by the number, it looks like. So I very much like the dice upgrade. And the tray as well is just, it's a really nice tray. It's just very large, a little unexpected. But that's it. That's everything you get in a copy of Wild Hunt Festival from Lion Wing Publishing.